What if I told you that many of the rules you've been taught about success, respect, and power are incomplete? What if some of the advice you've heard your whole life is actually preventing you from achieving the position you desire? Most people grow up believing that the world automatically rewards effort, absolute honesty, and good intentions. It seems fair, it seems comfortable, but just observe reality for a few minutes to realize that things don't work exactly that way. Every day, talented people are ignored, competent people are left behind, intelligent people work hard for years without achieving the recognition they thought they deserved. Meanwhile, others advance, influence, lead, and accumulate power in seemingly inexplicable ways. The question is, what do they know that most people don't? Machiavelli dedicated his life to studying precisely this question. Instead of analyzing how the world should work, he observed how it actually works. He studied kings, leaders, generals, traitors, allies, victors, and vanquished. And he arrived at conclusions that remain uncomfortably relevant centuries later. Conclusions that many people prefer to ignore because they challenge romantic ideas about justice, merit, and human behavior. The truth is that power is rarely given away. Blind trust is often costly. Reputation is worth more than many assets. And those who understand politics guided by reality, not by ideals, often see movements that go unnoticed by others. That is why concepts such as virtu and fortuna, the appearance of virtue, better to be feared than loved, avoiding being hated, and decisions based on real human nature continue to be discussed to this day. But be warned, this video isn't about manipulating people or becoming cold and unprincipled. It's about understanding the invisible rules that influence relationships, business, leadership, and influence. Because whether we like it or not, these rules continue to operate behind the scenes of society, and those who don't understand them often end up being controlled by those who do. In the following lessons, you will discover teachings that most people take decades to learn, if they learn them at all. Some of these ideas may challenge your beliefs. Others may explain mistakes you've been repeating for years without realizing it. And some may completely change the way you view human behavior. The question is, are you ready to see the world without filters? If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. Most people spend their lives waiting for some kind of invisible permission to begin. They wait for someone to recognize their worth, for an opportunity to appear, for a superior to finally see their potential, or for luck to decide to act in their favor. But reality rarely works that way. Machiavelli observed that power is not usually given as a gift. It is conquered by those who understand the dynamics of the real world. This is precisely where politics guided by reality, not by ideals, comes in. Those who wait to be chosen usually remain in line. Those who learn to act, create value, and occupy spaces end up being noticed. The difference between these two people is not necessarily in intelligence or talent. It is in the willingness to take responsibility for one's own destiny. At many moments in life, virtu and fortuna walk hand in hand. Fortuna opens a door for a few seconds, but only those who have developed sufficient virtu can cross it before it closes. The strategic individual understands that influence, respect, and authority are the results of repeated actions over time. They stop asking if they can and start figuring out how to do it. Observe anyone who has achieved a relevant position in business, leadership, or social influence. They rarely received everything handed to them. Often, they needed to build credibility before receiving recognition. They needed to deliver results before receiving trust. They needed to lead before even receiving a leadership position. A professional, for example, who constantly solves problems within a company becomes indispensable long before earning a promotion. This happens because decisions based on real human nature show that people value those who generate results, not those who only promise results. Machiavelli understood this deeply. Power grows when someone consistently demonstrates competence. And there's a curious trap. The more a person believes they deserve something simply because they worked hard, the more frustrated they become. The world rewards perception, usefulness, and impact. It's hard to accept this at first, but it's also liberating. Because when someone understands this rule, they stop waiting for external approval and start building their own position. And it is precisely at this moment that an even more delicate question arises. After gaining ground, who can truly be trusted? There's a comfortable belief that many people carry for years, the idea that simply finding the right people is enough to ensure security. It sounds nice, it sounds inspiring, but experience often teaches something different. Machiavelli understood that human relationships are influenced by constantly changing interests, circumstances, and needs. This doesn't mean living in distrust of everyone or seeing betrayals around every corner. It means understanding human nature as it truly is. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, demands this maturity. People who swear loyalty today may tomorrow defend completely different priorities, not because they are necessarily bad, but because the incentives have changed. A friend might move to another city, a partner might face financial difficulties, an ally might see a greater opportunity elsewhere. Life moves people. Therefore, the wisest individuals don't build their security on promises. They build it on systems, observation, and preparation. They value trust, but never let trust turn into blindness. After all, when someone places their entire destiny in the hands of another person, they also surrender their ability to react if something goes wrong. But there is an even more dangerous trap than over-trusting others, blindly trusting oneself. This often surprises those who hear it for the first time. After all, shouldn't we trust our own decisions? Yes, but with caution. Human beings have blind spots. The ego often creates comfortable illusions. How many people have persisted in bad deals because they didn't want to admit a mistake? How many investors have ignored clear signs of risk because they were enamored with their own analysis? How many leaders have lost entire teams because they believed they were always right? Machiavelli observed that constant adaptability separates the strong from the weak. The strategic individual questions their own certainties regularly. They revise opinions, seek contrary information, and accept course corrections when necessary. Instead of saying, "I know," they ask, "What am I failing to see?" This posture creates a silent force that is difficult to defeat. Because while others are prisoners of their own convictions, they continue to evolve. And the more someone understands the limits of trust, the more they realize that there is something even more valuable than alliances or certainties: how the world perceives their presence. Few people realize they live within a narrative created by the eyes of others. Even before someone opens their mouth, puts on clothes, or presents an idea, a perception is already being formed. This is why Machiavelli dedicated so much attention to reputation. He understood that in the game of power, reality matters, but the perception of reality often matters even more. An extremely competent professional can remain invisible if no one knows their worth. On the other hand, Someone merely average can achieve extraordinary opportunities because they have built a strong and consistent image. This doesn't mean living on empty appearances. It means understanding that the appearance of virtue has a real influence on human decisions. People choose leaders, partners, associates, and collaborators based on the trust they feel. And trust is born from what they observe repeatedly. Anyone who wants to build influence needs to constantly ask themselves, when my name comes up in a conversation, what words come to people's minds? Reliable, competent, disciplined, or unpredictable, impulsive, and inconsistent? The answer to this question reveals much more about someone's future than most imagine. Reputation functions like an invisible kingdom. It opens doors before its owner arrives and continues working even when he is not present. A businessman known for keeping his word receives opportunities that others don't even see. A professional recognized for solving problems is sought after even before vacancies are announced. A leader who demonstrates balance during crises wins followers without having to beg for attention. Machiavelli knew that better to be feared than loved was a reflection on respect and authority, but he also understood that the true objective was to avoid being hated. A solid reputation finds exactly this balance. It generates admiration without creating rejection. And here is an extremely useful practice, protecting one's own name as if it were a financial asset. Before acting, ask yourself if that decision strengthens or weakens your long-term image. Before reacting impulsively, assess the future cost. Before promising something, be sure you can deliver. Because reputation takes years to build and only minutes to destroy. And the more someone learns to manage their image, the more they realize that there is an even more powerful skill than speaking well, knowing exactly when to remain silent. Most people believe that influence is linked to the ability to talk a lot. They imagine that the most powerful are those who dominate conversations, respond quickly to everything, and have a ready opinion on any subject. But reality often reveals something different. Machiavelli understood that silence, when used correctly, can be more powerful than the most eloquent speech. This is because words deliver information, while silence creates mystery, and mystery compels others to pay attention. Observe a business meeting, a negotiation, or even a conversation between friends. Those who talk too much usually expose their intentions, their fears, their insecurities, and even their future plans without realizing it. Those who master silence, on the other hand, carefully choose what to reveal and what to preserve. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, teaches exactly this. Information is a strategic resource. The more someone controls information about themselves, the greater their capacity for influence. Silence is not the absence of communication. On the contrary, it often communicates confidence, self-control, and strength much more effectively than any long and elaborate explanation. There's also a psychological aspect that few realize. When someone speaks little and precisely, their words gain weight. Think of respected leaders, successful entrepreneurs, or experienced negotiators. They rarely feel the need to fill every second of a conversation. They observe, they listen, they gather information, and only then do they decide to act. This is deeply connected to decisions based on real human nature. Human beings have a curious tendency. Faced with silence, they feel the need to fill it. That's why many people end up revealing much more than they intended during a negotiation. While one party tries to justify, explain, and convince, the other simply observes and learns. Machiavelli knew that the calculated use of force doesn't only apply to battles or political disputes. Often, strength lies in the ability not to react immediately, not to respond to provocations, not to show all your cards. Those who master this skill make others uncomfortable without needing to raise their voice. And it is precisely when someone learns to control what they say that another fundamental lesson emerges, knowing exactly how to act in front of those who occupy positions above you. One of the quickest ways to create powerful enemies is to make someone feel their position is threatened. This is an old rule, but it remains as true today as it was centuries ago. Machiavelli observed that people can endure many things except the feeling of being replaced prematurely. Therefore, intelligent individuals understand that there is a huge difference between demonstrating competence and directly challenging those who still have more influence than they do. Many talented professionals sabotage their own advancement because they confuse skill with timing. They publicly correct their superiors, expose unnecessary errors, or try to prove superiority before they have built sufficient protection. The result is usually predictable. Instead of recognition, they receive resistance. Instead of support, they encounter obstacles. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, teaches that the world doesn't function solely on merit. It also functions through perceptions, hierarchies, and interests. Those who understand this learn to grow without raising unnecessary alarms. They learn to evolve strategically, accumulating influence quietly while strengthening their position behind the scenes. This doesn't mean living in hiding or dimming your own brilliance forever. It means understanding the right moment for each move. An intelligent learner absorbs knowledge, observes patterns, and builds relationships before trying to occupy larger spaces. Think of an executive who wants to reach the board of directors. If they spend years delivering consistent results, forming alliances, and becoming indispensable, when the opportunity for advancement arises, their presence will seem natural. Now imagine another professional who tries to bypass processes and constantly demonstrate superiority. Even if competent, they will be seen as a threat before being seen as a solution. Machiavelli associated this perception with the relationship between virtù and fortuna. Virtù prepares the individual. Fortuna presents the opportunity. But those who move prematurely often destroy their own chance. The greatest strategists understand that growth doesn't depend solely on strength. It depends on correctly reading the environment. They respect existing structures while discreetly building their own power bases. And the more someone learns to control their own ego in the face of hierarchies, the more they realize that there is an adversary even more dangerous than any influential superior: their own emotions. Few forces have caused more defeats throughout history than uncontrolled emotions. It wasn't a lack of intelligence that brought down kings, businessmen, generals, and leaders. More often than not, it was the inability to control momentary impulses, the anger that demanded an immediate response, the pride that refused important advice, the fear that paralyzed a necessary decision, the anxiety that rushed a move before the right moment. Machiavelli understood that the human mind is often its own battlefield. Therefore, those who wish to build power need to learn an uncomfortable lesson. Feeling emotions is inevitable, but obeying all of them is optional. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, demands precisely this discipline. When someone reacts impulsively, they surrender control to external factors. When they act strategically, they maintain command of their own direction. This is why truly influential people rarely make important decisions in the heat of anger or euphoria. They understand that intense emotions act like distorted lenses. They make problems seem bigger, opportunities seem smaller, and risks seem invisible. The result is almost always a mistake that could have been avoided. Consider how many opportunities are destroyed daily by emotional reactions. An employee quits in a moment of irritation and regrets it weeks later. An investor buys in the heat of excitement and sells in the throes of fear. A relationship ends because of words spoken in a few seconds of impulsiveness. Machiavelli knew that decisions based on true human nature require emotional detachment. Not because emotions are useless, but because they are excellent advisors for showing what we feel and terrible rulers for deciding what we should do. A simple exercise can completely transform how someone reacts to challenges. Create the habit of waiting before responding to important situations. Don't respond immediately to a provocation. Don't make relevant financial decisions on the same day. Don't act while the mind is still dominated by the emotion of the moment. This small pause creates space for reason to take over again. And when reason takes control again, something interesting happens. The person begins to see that true power lies not only in controlling oneself, but in making others need them more than they need them. There's a huge difference between being useful and being indispensable. Useful people are appreciated. Indispensable people are protected. While many spend their lives trying to be admired, strategists seek something far more valuable: lasting relevance. Machiavelli understood that power rarely remains in the hands of those who merely perform tasks. It concentrates on those who occupy roles that are difficult to replace. This logic appears in companies, relationships, politics, and virtually any environment where human interests exist. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, shows that security doesn't stem from the goodwill of others, but from their need for what you offer. When someone becomes the person who solves complex problems, connects important people, generates consistent results, or possesses rare knowledge, their position naturally strengthens, not because others are generous, but because losing that person becomes costly. And that's precisely where many make a fatal mistake. They spend years trying to please everyone while neglecting the development of skills that truly create value. Admiration can fade quickly. Need tends to last much longer. A simple example helps to understand this dynamic. Imagine two professionals working at the same company. The first is friendly, pleasant, and well-liked by everyone. The second masters critical processes, resolves difficult crises, and possesses strategic information that helps the organization grow. When a restructuring occurs, which one has a better chance of remaining? The answer reveals an uncomfortable truth. Machiavelli knew that one's own loyal armies were more reliable than borrowed forces. In the modern world, this logic remains valid. Your army is formed by your skills, your network of contacts, your reputation, and your ability to generate results. The stronger this army becomes, the less vulnerable one is to external changes. This doesn't mean manipulating people or creating artificial dependencies. It means developing skills so valuable that your presence produces benefits that are difficult to replicate. Constant adaptability also plays an essential role here, because what makes someone indispensable today may not have the same value tomorrow. And when a person reaches this level of relevance, an inevitable question arises: who really represents a threat to them? The answer is usually much closer than you imagine. Most people spend too much time observing who likes them and too little time understanding who might harm them. This behavior is natural. After all, it's pleasant to be around allies, receive support, and feel approved. But Machiavelli saw the world from a different perspective. He knew that friends usually reveal what they want you to see. Adversaries, on the other hand, often unknowingly reveal what you really need to understand. That's why the most effective strategists carefully study those who oppose them, not out of obsession, resentment, or revenge, but out of practical intelligence. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, teaches that ignored threats rarely disappear on their own. They grow in the shadows. A competitor can reveal flaws in your business. A critic can expose weaknesses in your communication. A rival can identify vulnerabilities that your admirers would never mention. While praise often comforts, challenges frequently teach. And although not all criticism is valid, almost all opposition contains information that deserves careful analysis. Those who learn to separate emotion from observation transform conflicts into sources of strategic knowledge. This doesn't mean living in a permanent state of war. On the contrary, it means developing a deep understanding of the forces that shape the surrounding environment. Great generals studied their adversaries before battles. Great entrepreneurs analyze competitors before launching products. Great negotiators investigate hidden interests before sitting down at the table. Machiavelli understood that the calculated use of force begins long before the action. It begins with observation. Imagine someone who wants to grow within a company. Instead of just strengthening friendships, this person also observes who is competing for the same spaces, what their skills, strengths, and limitations are. Not to attack them, but to better understand the game they are in. Decisions based on real human nature arise precisely from this ability to see beyond appearances. Often, the biggest mistake is not underestimating a powerful enemy. It is ignoring a seemingly small adversary who is silently accumulating strength. And the more someone learns to observe without revealing their analyses, the more they realize that the true strategist rarely exposes their plans ahead of time. One of the most effective ways to lose a strategic advantage is to reveal your plans too early. Most people do this without realizing it. They share objectives before executing them, announce moves before consolidating them, and seek validation when they should still be working in silence. Machiavelli understood that exposed intentions become targets. The more people know your next steps, the greater the number of factors capable of interfering with them. Some interference will be intentional. Others will happen simply because the interests of those involved do not coincide with yours. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, teaches that the world does not only reward those with good ideas. It rewards those who know how to protect them until they are strong enough to survive on their own. This is why many of the most important movements in history were prepared away from the spotlight. While everyone watched one direction, the true strategists advanced in another. Silence, in this context, is not cowardice or insecurity. It is protection. It is the ability to preserve freedom of action while others are still trying to figure out what is happening. Whoever reveals everything loses the advantage of surprise. Those who possess strategic information maintain control over the pace of the game. There is also an extremely powerful psychological aspect to this practice. When people don't fully understand your intentions, they are forced to interpret signals, and interpretations are almost always less accurate than concrete facts. Machiavelli deeply understood the power of the appearance of virtue in public perception. He knew that controlling what others know is an effective way to influence how they think. An entrepreneur who constantly talks about a project may receive praise, but also criticism, doubts, and unnecessary interference even before starting. On the other hand, someone who works quietly can progress without distractions. The same happens in negotiations, professional disputes, and even relationships. This doesn't mean lying or manipulating people gratuitously. It means understanding that not all information needs to be shared immediately. Decisions based on real human nature show that many failures occur because someone confused transparency with total exposure. The strategist reveals only what strengthens their position at that moment. The rest remains protected until the right time, and when someone learns to intelligently conceal their movements, they discover an even more powerful weapon than secrecy: the ability to choose exactly when to act. Most people see time simply as a measure, hours, days, months, and years passing continuously, but Machiavelli observed something much deeper. For him, time was not just a resource, it was a strategic weapon. In many cases, winning doesn't depend on being stronger, smarter, or more talented. It depends on acting at the right moment. How many opportunities have been lost because someone moved too early? How many failures have occurred because a necessary decision was postponed beyond the limit? Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, requires sensitivity to understand the rhythm of events. The strategist doesn't rush simply because he is anxious, nor does he wait simply because he is afraid. He learns to identify when circumstances are ripe for a specific action. This skill may seem simple, but it is among the rarest in the world. After all, controlling impulses is difficult. Most prefer to act immediately to alleviate anxiety or procrastinate to avoid discomfort. Few manage to remain attentive to the environment until the ideal moment presents itself. And when that happens, they move forward with speed and conviction. The relationship between virtù and fortuna appears powerfully here again. Fortuna represents the opportunities that arise throughout life. Virtù represents the necessary preparation to seize them. Imagine two people facing the same business opportunity. Both see the potential, but only one possesses sufficient knowledge, resources, and preparation to act quickly. The opportunity is the same. The result is completely different. Machiavelli understood that luck favors those who are ready when it appears. Therefore, the most strategic individuals spend much more time preparing than showing off. They study, observe trends, strengthen skills, and build resources silently. When the moment arrives, they appear lucky in the eyes of others. But behind that apparent luck lie years of invisible preparation. Decisions based on real human nature show that many confuse patience with passivity. However, strategic patience is a form of action. It is consciously choosing not to move until the movement produces the greatest possible impact. And when someone learns to master time instead of being mastered by it, they reach an even rarer stage. They become so unpredictable that others never know exactly where their next move will come from. There is a characteristic present in almost all individuals who accumulate lasting power. They are difficult to predict. Not because they are chaotic or irrational, but because they do not allow others to transform their behaviors into simple formulas. Machiavelli understood that excessive predictability creates vulnerabilities. When everyone knows exactly how someone will react, what decisions they will make, and what limits they will never cross, it becomes much easier to manipulate them. This is why the most effective strategists cultivate constant adaptability. They maintain solid principles, but flexible methods. If circumstances change, they change along with them. If the scenario demands caution, they act cautiously. If it demands speed, they accelerate. If it demands firmness, they demonstrate firmness. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, teaches that the world belongs to those who can adjust to change without losing direction. Many people fail because they cling to old models while reality is already operating under new rules. The strategist observes the environment continuously and adjusts their approach as needed. Therefore, while others are trying to predict his next moves, he is already operating several moves ahead. This unpredictability doesn't arise by chance. It stems from a combination of observation, self-control, and strategic intelligence. Think of a powerful storm. No one can control its path with absolute precision. No one can say exactly when it will gain strength or change direction. This is the feeling Machiavelli sought to convey, not that of an uncontrolled individual, but of someone who can never be reduced to obvious patterns. The calculated use of force plays a central role in this process. Sometimes the strategist demonstrates firmness. At other times, patience. In certain situations, he advances. In others, he temporarily retreats to gain greater advantages in the future. Decisions based on real human nature show that people seek predictability because it offers comfort. But those who truly master the game understand that comfort rarely generates power. Own and loyal armies, a carefully built reputation, calculated silence, Reading adversaries, emotional control, and mastery of time all converge on the same result, the ability to act when no one expects it. And it is precisely at this point that the lessons cease to be mere concepts and begin to transform into a complete philosophy of power, influence, and survival in a world that rarely favors the unprepared. After everything that has been presented, there is a question that deserves to be asked with complete honesty. How many of these lessons did you already know? And how many do you actually apply? Because knowledge, by itself, doesn't transform anyone. The world is full of people who know exactly what they should do, but continue to act the same way they always have. The real difference appears when understanding transforms into behavior. It is at that moment that ideas cease to be interesting concepts and begin to produce concrete results. Machiavelli understood something that remains valid centuries later. Life favors those who can see reality clearly. Not the reality they would like to exist, but the reality that truly exists. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, requires courage. Courage to abandon illusions, courage to question old beliefs, courage to take control of one's own path without waiting for someone to come and rescue them. Now think for a few seconds. Which of these 11 lessons was the hardest to accept? Was it understanding that power needs to be earned? Was it realizing the value of reputation? Was it understanding that uncontrolled emotions can destroy years of work? Or perhaps it was recognizing that you often revealed your plans too early to the wrong people. And most importantly, which of these lessons do you plan to put into practice today? Because most people will watch this content, agree with some parts, disagree with others, and continue exactly the same tomorrow. Very few will have enough discipline to apply these principles consistently, and that is precisely why so few people achieve positions of influence, respect, and freedom. Remember, virtue and fortune go hand in hand. Fortune may present unexpected opportunities, but only those who have developed discipline, strategic vision, constant adaptability, and decisions based on true human nature will be prepared to seize them when they arise. The calculated use of force, the building of one's own loyal armies, the ability to avoid being hated while strengthening one's position, and the understanding of the appearance of virtue are not merely historical concepts. They are tools that continue to shape the modern world every day. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these lessons caught your attention the most? Which one do you think most people ignore? And which of Machiavelli's principles do you consider most powerful for today? Write your answer in the comments. I read them all. And if you enjoy this type of content about strategy, human behavior, power, influence, and Machiavelli's timeless ideas, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way you won't miss the next videos and you'll continue developing a perspective that few people possess. Because, in the end, the world changes for those who learn to see it as it truly is.